Morning, Chef, Daniel.
Good morning, Mr.
Morning, Mirna, Kiki, Nada, Samar, Shwan, Ahmed Matar, Luigi. Okay, Besant, Maya. Welcome back, guys. Minna Mahir, Jana Sabh, Zahrub, Yauta, Hamid. I think that's all we have for now. Okay. Uh, Guys, in the first session, we did units or chapters uh, 16, 17, and 18. We're doing the summaries. I'll answer Yauta's question again. Mister, you are giving us the summary only, summary and the analysis of each chapter. Are we supposed to study this only? The answer is no. You are supposed to read the chapters, refer to the weekly plan every week. On Sunday, you had chapters 13 and 14, then 15 and 16. Every day you have two chapters, about 12 or 13 pages. You have to read them on your own. But the questions will come from the summary. Yes, 80 or 90% of the questions will come from the summary. If you want to study the summary only and you don't want the full mark, that's okay. If you want to get the full mark, you can read the chapters on your pace. We started about 2 weeks ago. You should study it every day, as you know. Myrna, welcome, Myrna. Uh, I'll unmute you, mute you, sorry. Myrna. Uh, Myrna, Minna, Gamal, and Mariam, I think. I have Myrna and Minna now. Gamal is not here yet. Myrna, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mister.
Okay. Welcome. You were absent in the first session, right?
Yes, sorry.
So, يعني agree the four of you, Minna, Myrna, Mariam, and Gamal, because you didn't take the quiz last Monday. You had an excuse. Tell me when you're ready, okay? The four of you agree together and tell me which day. Tell me about the day and then I'll tell you about the time, okay? Okay, Minna? Myrna? Myrna, okay?
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
Mister.
Thank you very much. So you are four again, Minna, Myrna, Mariam, and Gamal. Okay, in the first session, we did the summary of chapters 16, 17, and 18. And in this session, we're going to do 19, 20, and 21. Remember, in this term, you're responsible for chapters. This is the Harug's question. The Harug asked me about the stuff that will come in the term exam. It's still early. We still have about 2 weeks. But as for the story or the novel, you are responsible for chapters from 7 to 24. Is it enough to study from the summary only? Yes, if you want to get 80 or 90% of the mark. If you want to get the full mark, read the story. You are in grade 12 now. You should read the original text on your own. And my job is not to open the laptop or the computer and read the stuff with you. You know, if you have any question, you're welcome. Chapter 19, the title is An Opinion. An opinion. Let's see whose opinion it is. On the 10th morning, remember that Dr. Manette, after his daughter got married to Charles Darnay, they went on a fortnight honeymoon, a 2 week honeymoon. And after they left, the man, let's say, regressed to his mental condition in the prison. He resorted to shoemaking again and didn't know the people around him. He didn't know Miss Pross. He didn't know his friend or his family friend, Mr. Lorry, the banker. Okay. Now, Dr. Manette, awakens fully recovered after 9 days and unaware that anything unusual has transpired. He was unaware that anything unusual has happened to him, but he's okay now. Now he is Dr. Manette. Okay, Mr. Lorry tactfully, in a delicate way, conveys to the doctor what has happened. He told him what has happened to him and asks what caused the relapse, what caused the regression, and how it can be prevented. Because after all, he is a doctor. The doctor explains that he expected the relapse. Remember what caused this relapse? Can anybody tell me the answer? What caused this relapse? What made the doctor resort to shoemaking as if he were still in prison? If you know the answer, put your hand up, please. What led to this relapse or this regression? The question again. What made the doctor go back to shoemaking? What made him forget all the people or forget the names of all the people around him for 9 days? What led to this condition? People who attended the first session. Luigi, okay.
I'm not sure, but was he triggered يعني? I don't understand the question.
The doctor now.
I meant, is he triggered by what happened to him in prison? So that's why he relapsed? Or
maybe.
is it something else?
Maybe.
Okay.
I have Yauta, I think. Okay, Yauta, go ahead.
I think because his only daughter was getting married and that caused him a collapse.
Perfect. This is one reason. We have another one. Let's thank you, Yauta. Thank you very much. Let's listen to Minna. Where is Minna? Minna, where are you? Unmute yourself or mute yourself, please. Minna, okay. Go ahead.
Because Charles Darnay told him about his real family.
Thank you very much. These are the two reasons that led to this relapse or this regression. Again, because his daughter is getting married, what does this mean? She was like a mother, a wife, and a daughter to him. And now there is another man who will share her life with Dr. Manette. This is reason number one. And reason number two, that Charles Darnay, on the morning of his wedding, told Dr. Manette that his family name is Evremont, not Darnay. What does this mean? This means, or this will be discovered later after the revolution, or after the French Revolution. Okay, let's go on. The doctor explained that he expected the relapse because he's a doctor, which was caused by the revival of certain memories. His memories back in prison. So when Charles Darnay told the doctor that he belonged to the Evremont family, this reminded the doctor of his prison memories. Okay, he believes that the worst is over and the doctor doubts that another relapse could occur. Okay, if one relapse occurs, it would most likely result from an intense experience or that revived those same memories. And if this happens again, it will be for the same reason, when somebody reminds him of past memories. Okay, Mr. Lorry also questions the wisdom of keeping the shoemaking bench and materials. He asked the doctor, why do you still keep this stuff that reminds you of your days back in prison? Pointing out that the presence of the shoemaking bench and materials remind the doctor of the past that has caused him so much pain. Uneasily agreeing, he agreed, but uneasily, Dr. Manette requests that Mr. Lorry, the banker, dispose of the bench and tools without asking him. Therefore, Mr. Lorry and Miss Pross bury the tools, and burn the shoemaking bench after the doctor leaves to join Lucy and Renee on their trip. Remember, they have been away for 10 days. They still have about 4 days to come back, and the doctor went to join them. The analysis of the chapter. One of the criticisms of A Tale of Two Cities is that it lacks the characters of depth. Uh, uh, Hamid is raising his hand. Yes, Ham.
مستر ابو الفرح في الويتنج روم بس بقاله 5 دقايق.
Okay, I'm sorry.
او الفرح في الويتنج
Yes,
روم
okay,
بس.
okay. I'll admit him. Just
Okay.
second. I can't see him. Oh, he's not there. Okay, Gamal and Abul Farh. Sorry. Okay. So one of the criticisms of A Tale of Two Cities is that it lacks the characters of depth and complexity that, let's say, characterize Charles Dickens' novels. However, Dr. Manette is considered an exception. In his conversation with Mr. Lorry, he displays the multifaceted nature of his character. The man is a doctor and a father and a shoemaker at the same time, ranging from a loving father to a capable professional to a nervous victim. Although troubled by his relapse, again, relapse means regression, when he goes back to his mental condition as if he were still in prison. He seems more confident in its wake, possibly because he knew Darnay's revelation might trigger a relapse, and he now believes, nothing else is likely to cause it to happen again. When Mr. Lorry discusses it with him, the doctor was sure that it will not happen again unless something reminds him of his past days. As he said, an intense experience. If no intense experience reminds me of my past days in prison, this will not happen again. So he is a doctor, and he, let's say, diagnoses the case, and he knows that this will not happen again unless anybody reminds him of his past days. His insistence that he is not overworked and needs to work in order to balance his mind displays a self-knowledge. He wanted them, Mr. Lorry and Miss Press, to let him go and practice his profession as a doctor. That is especially impressive in light of the complete lack of self-awareness. The man is self-aware that he exhibited when Mr. Lorry first observed him in the Paris garret. Remember when he was in the Paris garret in Monsieur Defarge's home, in the room, which is also known as an attic. A garret is a small room at the top of any building, in which it was on floor 5th, Mr. Defarge put Dr. Manette after he was released from prison in such a room. Interestingly, his self-assurance flags only when Mr. Lorry brings up the issue of the shoemaking materials. Instantly, he changes from confidence to nervous, fidgeting, and avoiding Mr. Lorry's gaze. As Dr. Manette explains his attachment to the bench and tools, he exposes the reality and the horror of solitary imprisonment. It reveals his pain so much by substituting the perplexity of the fingers for the perplexity of the brain. Because shoemakers use their fingers with their jobs, but doctors use their brains for their jobs, okay? And by substituting, as he became more practiced, the ingenuity of the hands for the ingenuity of the mental torture. In other words, the bench and tools represent a refuge into which his mind can escape when faced with remembrance of his agony of isolation. Again, guys, instead of tiring your brain thinking of your past, the man resorted to just using his fingers making shoes. It was much easier. This was a resort, as I said before, for him to escape from past memories. He didn't to tire his brain thinking of his past. Okay, Sagacity, sagacity means wisdom. In brief, guineas, shillings, and banknotes, these are currencies. Guineas, the first guinea. The first guinea was made from or made of gold that came from the African country of Guinea. This is why it's called guinea, and the guinea is about 105 piastres, a little bit more than £1. Chapter 20, a plea. And the plea means something like an excuse or a petition. Soon after Lucy and Darnay return from their honeymoon, Carton visits them. Remember, in one of the previous chapters, Carton promised Lucy to give his life for her or anyone she loves. Again, the man told her that he had some feelings for her, but he knows he is not an equivalent to her and that he is ready to give his life for her or anyone she loves. Remember this promise? Carton visits them. He takes Darnay aside and, in an unusually sincere tone, asks for Darnay's friendship and apologizes for his rudeness after the trial. I'd like to remind you that after the trial, after Darnay's trial, Sidney Carton took him to an inn nearby, and they had dinner there. And Darnay told him that he didn't like him. He said to Charles Darnay, "I don't particularly like you." But Darnay didn't care about this. Darnay is casual about the apology, but assures Carton that he has forgotten any past offenses. Carton then asks permission to visit the family occasionally. Again, Carton wanted to visit the family from time to time, and Darnay grants it. Darnay agrees. Later that evening, after Carton leaves, Darnay comments on Carton's irresponsible nature. He talked about him in a way that Lucy didn't like. Again, Darnay comments on Carton's irresponsible nature after Carton leaves, causing Lucy to reprimand him, to blame him, and ask that he show Carton more consideration in the future. Because Lucy noticed that there is a change about Carton's behavior. The way he talked that night made her feel that the man is not the usual man she was accustomed to, and asked her husband to give him more consideration in the future. Because again, remember, Carton asked Darnay to let him visit the family occasionally from time to time. The future visits are expected. Whenever he comes to visit us again, please, dear husband, give him or show him more consideration in the future. Analysis. Carton's apology to Darnay and his request to visit the family show his respect for Darnay's new place. Darnay is now Lucy's husband in Lucy's life, and his desire to remain a peripheral part of the family's life. He wanted to stay near Lucy in a way or another. Once he couldn't get married to her because he knew he wasn't an equivalent to her, he wants to see her from time to time. His sincerity and earnestness, in speaking, his honesty in speaking to Darnay echo the tone he took in speaking to Lucy before her marriage, indicating that he is revealing the real Carton to Darnay. However, Darnay lacks Lucy's sensitivity, and Lucy was sensitive and she had compassion for the man in the same way she had compassion for Darnay when he was in the trial, although she was a witness against him, but she had compassion for him, and all the people noticed this, as you did in the quiz. MashaAllah, you all have the same answers, MashaAllah. Okay, Lucy's sensitivity and compassion, and fails to perceive the difference in Carton's manner. So Lucy could conceive the difference in his manner, but her husband failed to do this. When Darnay talks about Carton as a problem of carelessness and recklessness, Dickens adds that he is speaking of Carton as anybody who saw him as he showed himself. While this statement may seem like a defense of Darnay's remarks, it actually comments on Darnay's inability to see Carton's real self. Again, Darnay is unable to see Carton's real self, but his wife Lucy could. Even after Carton has shown it to him, after coming to him and saying, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you the night I took you to the inn after the trial," and another, okay? After the man left, Darnay kept talking badly about him. But again and again, Lucy reprimanded or blamed him for this. In the end, Darnay receives a glimpse of Carton's worthiness through Lucy's vision of him. She reminded her husband that the man has changed. It's enough, or didn't you see him coming to you and apologizing? Chapter 21, Echoing Footsteps. Echoing Footsteps. 8 years have passed. Let's go back to Paris for a couple of minutes. 8 years have passed, and the year is 1789. Do you remember the important event, guys, that took place in Paris or in France that night? Hamid's hand is still raised. I'm not sure whether he wants to answer or not. Hamid, do you want to answer? Monsieur Hamid? Monsieur Hamid? Monsieur Hamid, we are in Paris now. Okay. Minna?
The start of the French Revolution.
Yes, this is the year when the French Revolution took place. Thank you, Minna. So it's 1789 now, and Lucy and Darnay have been married for about 8 years, which means they have children now, or they may have children now, right? Darnay continues to prosper in his business, and he and Lucy have had 2 children. So Darnay and Lucy have had 2 children, a daughter named Lucy. So we have Lucy the mother and Lucy the daughter, and a son who lived, we don't know his name, several years before he died. So now Darnay and Lucy have 1 child, a girl called Lucy. Both children have been especially fond of Carton. You know, Carton was in the habit of visiting the family occasionally, and he was playing with the 2 kids. They were fond of him. And Carton continues to work for Stryver, the assistant of the Stryver, the lawyer, who has married, Stryver himself has married a widow with 3 sons. Stryver, who proposed to Lucy before, okay, remember, is married now to a woman, a widow, a woman whose husband has died, and they have, or the woman got 3 kids from the first husband. Minna, just a second. Minna?
Mister, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I think Mariam took the quiz.
Mariam took the quiz?
Yes.
I don't think so. I didn't see her name. 23 people only. You are 27, 23. I checked the names. I didn't see her name. Maybe I made a mistake, but 4 people haven't done it yet. I'm sure about you and Minna because you had an excuse. And Mariam had an excuse for Omar and Danielle, but Omar and Danielle did it. I didn't see her name. I'll check again.
Okay.
Can you call her to join us, or to make sure? Okay, 4 people. I received 23 answers or responses. You are 27, as you know. 4 people are missing: Gamal, Minna, Mirna, and Mariam. Okay, thank you, Min. So let's complete. Where did we stop? Yaota wants to join. Okay, so Carton continues to work for Stryver. Stryver is married to a widow with 3 sons. 3 sons. Time passes peacefully for the group in England. while turmoil, while suffering in France seems like a dreadful sea rising, a volcano. Problems in France begin to encroach upon the lives of those in England. What happens back in Paris? Okay, Mariam. Mariam, good morning. Mariam. Where is Mariam? Oh, yes, just give me a second. Mariam, good morning.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. But today I took permission from Mr. Osama not to attend the sessions.
No problem, but did you take the quiz?
Yes, I took it.
Maybe I made a mistake. So who is the fourth person, guys? Yani four
Can you recheck?
Okay, no problem. No problem. Are you sure you submitted it? I'll check again. And
yes, but if it's not submitted, I can take it again. There's no problem.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure I submitted it.
I'm sure I didn't see your name, but I'll check again. No problem. If you are
okay,
doing something, you can leave, Mariam. No problem.
Okay, thanks.
Well,
bye.
Bye. Time passes peacefully for the group in England, while turmoil in France seems like a dreadful sea rising. Problems in France begin to encroach to affect those who live in England. When Mr. Lorry appears at the Manette Dornay home one night, tired and irritable after a long day at Tellson's, they have been busy, very busy at Tellson's. Why? Remember, Tellson's has a branch in Paris. Tellson's Bank has a branch in Paris. And you know, at the time of the revolution or at the time of any chaos, people run to banks maybe to withdraw their money because they are afraid that the mob would attack the bank and rob the money or rob the bank. Okay, unrest in France has caused a run. A run means sell or buy. In this case, I think the people will run to the bank to withdraw their money. Unrest in France has caused a run on the Paris branch of Tellson's Bank, which will affect Tellson's Bank in London for sure. Meanwhile, in France, the residents of Saint-Antoine district, the place where the Defarge's wine shop lies, arm themselves. They arm themselves with every type of weapon imaginable and begin to mass together in the streets. And the Defarges lead the crowd in an attack on the Bastille. Remember the Bastille, the notorious prison in Paris, in which people were put without any trial. Okay, once inside the prison, the revolutionaries stormed the prison. Defarge goes to Dr. Alexander Manette's cold cell. Can anybody remind me of the number of Dr. Manette's cold cell? I'll choose. I'll go to Ahmad Matar. Matar, can you hear me? أحمد مطر، الصوت مش واضح يا مطر ولا ايه؟ النت عندك وحش النهارده برضه زي المره اللي فاتت؟ مطر انتوا بتختفوا ليه يا شباب؟ في ايه؟ بسنت.
The number of his cell is 105 in the North Tower.
Thank you very much. So once they stormed the prison, Defarge headed for 105, as Basant said, 105 or 105 North Tower, the cold cell where Dr. Manette was imprisoned, and searches for something. Afterward, Defarge joins a group escorting the prison's governor to the Hotel de Ville. On the way there, the governor of the prison was killed. He was beaten to death, and Madame Defarge, remember Madame Defarge, cuts off his head. The woman cuts off his head. In the bloody woman. In the course of the turmoil, during the suffering, The revolutionaries rescue 7 prisoners, like Dr. Manette, 7 prisoners from the Bastille, and put the heads of 7 guards on pikes. Okay, analysis. Dickens contrasts the calm of life in Soho. Soho is the place where Dr. Manette's and Dornay's home is in London, without that turbulence in Saint Antoine district back in Paris. Time has passed quietly for Lucy and her family, but Mr. Lorry's agitated visit indicates that their time of tranquility is over. Their suffering will begin from now on. Mr. Lorry seems to anticipate trouble when he tells the doctor, "These hurries and forebodings by which I have been surrounded all day long," because again, a large number of people in Paris maybe are sending their money to the London branch. You know this happens. We have some money, we have some deposits in the Paris branch. Paris is in revolution now, so we can send our money to the London branch, and this causes a hectic day, or this causes a hectic day for Dr. or Mr. Lorry. Have made me nervous without reason. This is Mr. Lorry telling Dr. Manette. The hot, wild night reflects his restlessness, and as literal storm takes place in England, a storm of violence rises in France. So there is a literal storm in England, and a storm, a real storm, rises in France. The storming of the Bastille, which occurred on July the 14th, 1789, which is the French day, or day, the national day in France now, July 14th, began the French Revolution. So the French Revolution began with the storming of the Bastille. And Dickens blends history with fiction in his recreation of the event. The revolutionaries, the Jacqueries, did kill and behead 7 guards, as well as the governor of the Bastille. So the governor of the prison, along with 7 guys, were killed. The governor's name was Delaunay. They also freed 7 bewildered prisons. For, like Dr. Manette, for the sake of the story, though, Dickens places the Defarges at the center of the incident, with Defarge coordinating the tactical aspects of the attack, and Madame Defarge leading the women in a frightening display of bloodlust. She was, as I said before, bloody woman. She wanted to kill or to get rid of all those who did wrong in the past, did or caused them any wrong in the past. Additionally, the violence and chaos of mobs that Dickens has hinted at previously in the novel explode here with full force. Remember in chapters 13, 14, and 15, Charles Dickens talked about the mob and said that even if you were a doctor or a thinking person, you can be led easily in the mob. If you are in the mob, if there are, for example, 1,000 of you in the streets, all of them are mentally perfect people, are thinkers. They can be led easily when they are in the mob. They don't question any order. If some 5 or 6 organized people tell you to go and burn this, you will go and burn this. Go and kill this, you will go and kill this. It's the culture of the mob. Okay, and violence breeds violence and produces violence, as you know. He describes the mob as a whirlpool of boiling waters, a whirlpool of boiling waters, a raging sea, and a howling universe of passion and contention. For Dickens, the mob is a potent force that is mindless. Again, the mob is mindless, even if the people there are highly thinking people, heartless and inescapable. Inescapable. This is the culture of the mob. If there is a mob in the street, they can easily destroy anything, damage anything without questioning. Glossary: a run of confidence, a large number of customers withdrawing their money from a bank. As I said, A large number of people were withdrawing their money from the bank or sending their money to another branch outside the area of violence. Musket, smooth-bore, long-barreled firearm. You know the musketeer, a soldier who fights using a musket. It's a type of gun, in brief. You know the pikes, weapons formerly used by foot soldiers, consisting of a metal spearhead, a long wooden shaft. You know what the pike is, and some people in the past were killed sitting on pikes, like Sulaiman al-Halabi, who killed Kleber, the French leader who was in the French campaign in Egypt. This is the end of the summary of chapters 19, 18, 19, 20, and 21. Still have 22, 23, 24. I posted such summaries, the Word documents on SMS, and you'll find also the video there. Thank you very much. Any question before I end the session? Matar, are you back? Matar? Okay, thank you very much. I'll end the session. Assalamu alaikum.